In the waning days of summer, just before the autumnal equinox, the grand doors of the Blackwood Library were thrown open for the first time in over 60 years. It was a blistering hot day, the kind of day where the sun beats down mercilessly and even the trees seemed to wilt. But somehow inside the library, the air was cool and carried the scent of old paper and leather. The building had been sealed off ever since the last caretaker died, shut up inside when he failed to produce the key to the town's archive vault. Back then, they found thousands of ancient texts detailing the history of Blackwood and its surrounding areas. But since then, nobody had laid eyes on those books until now. The mayor called for volunteers to comb through the collection, hoping to find something salvageable that could be of use to the town. But once the group entered the building, they soon realized they weren't alone. Sitting behind the old oak desk was a man in his mid-30s, with messy black hair and dirt caked under his fingernails. He wore a tweed jacket over a white shirt, his sleeves rolled up to reveal forearms covered in what looked like fresh cuts. Startled, the man jumped, knocking over a glass of water that had been sitting on the desk. I didn't see you there," he stammered, hastily wiping up the spill. "You must be the new recruits. Come to help me catalog the collection." And so saying, he introduced himself as the Archivist. The townsfolk exchanged uneasy glances. None of them remembered him, but how could this be? If he'd been working here for all these years, shouldn't they have seen him around town? And if he'd been tending to the library, why hadn't the rats and insects simply eaten the books? Still, nobody wanted to stick around and find out. So they left the Archivist to his work. But the next day, the mayor decided to pay the library a surprise visit, hoping to personally thank the mysterious caretaker for opening up the archive. But upon entering, he noticed something strange. All the books were closed, but he could hear pages being shuffled. Curious, he crept closer and saw the Archivist frantically organizing the books. And then he noticed something else, something truly horrifying. The Archivist didn't organize the books by genre or author, but by human skin. There had to be hundreds of volumes bound in flesh, each one feeling uncomfortably warm to the touch. But the most disturbing part was that they felt oddly familiar, like old friends whose faces you've forgotten. Then the mayor noticed the ink seeping out of the pages. At first it looked like blood, dark and viscous. But then it began to crawl out of the text and onto his hand, burning itself into his skin like acid. Panicked, he pulled his hand away, but it was too late. The words had already been written, but what did they say? He couldn't read them. They were indecipherable. Just as he started to panic, the Archivist rushed over, his expression filled with concern. "You shouldn't read those," he said, his voice raspy. "It's not safe. Please, you have to forget what you just read. You have to forget you ever came here." Then he grabbed the mayor's arm and began frantically licking the ink off his skin. "Please," he begged. "If the ink reaches your heart, you won't make it." The mayor hesitated for only a moment, but in that instant, the decision was made for him. The ground beneath him began to crumble, his legs fading first, then his torso, until he was nothing but the mayor's coat floating above the endless shelves. The Archivist screamed in horror as the ink burned into his own flesh, but he knew he had to do this. If the ink reached the heart, death was inevitable. But if it reached his skin, well, that was simply another Tuesday. So with shaking hands, he opened a new book, dipped his quill into the seeping ink and wrote. Now, people come and go, but none remember the Archivist, nor do they remember anything about the library. But that's all right, because every story has to be written down, even if no one will ever remember reading. Maybe that's why the library is cursed. Or maybe it's the only thing keeping the town from being totally erased from existence. What do you think? Isn't this story interesting? Thanks for watching. Leave a like and subscribe to Myth Legend for more content like this.